Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alamin. Ladies and gentlemen, it's with a great pleasure to welcome you all here today. I am delighted and honored that our former mayor, our brother, our friend, is here with us this evening, our 46th mayor, Honorable Raymond Thomas R.T. Rybak. On behalf of our community, we honor you tonight. Thank you as our former mayor, thank you as our brother, and thank you as a friend. In Minneapolis, the Twin Cities, or for that matter in the US, that had touched the lives of our community and cared so much our community other than R.T. Ryback. Our theme of the night or of the evening, our theme is that our mayor or our former mayor is quote unquote people's mayor. So I ask you, every time you hear his name, you say after me, people's mayor. Say that again, people's mayor. R.T. Ryback, people's mayor. Thank you so much. The reputation it took thousands of people, many years to build. That is why R.T. Ryback is people's mayor. Right, indeed. We also thank your beautiful family, your wife, Megan, and we thank your two children, Charlie and Grace. Those are the ones that we know. We thank them because a person is who he is what his family is all about. I'm also proud and love our host this evening. She's strong, a loving, caring, and a brave mother. She's the rock of our community, my sister, Ovah Jama. Let's not forget our sister Khadija, who has graciously, who was gracious enough to welcome us in her beautiful place. Thank you so much, Khadija. Program, which is People's Mayor. Mayor R.T. Ryback has done so much for our community, as I said, and transitioned this city to a better place with our current mayor, Honorable Betsy Hodges. Give her a hand. Betsy Hodges. Mayor R.T. Ryback was first elected in 2001, making history when he has won with the widest margin in Minneapolis' history from a challenger to an incumbent, about 65-63%, I believe. He is currently the title holder of the fittest mayor in the US. He's fit. He loves sports, and especially cross-country skiing. He is the first mayor in the US to use the Twitter account. That's him. That's very important. Mayor R.T. Ryback loves sports, especially cross-country skiing. He had presided 350 million in the city's debt payment, and that's huge. He'd also presided the first property tax cut in 30 years. That's a huge accomplishment. Give him a hand. 30 years. He had reformed pension system that was draining taxpayers' money. He had rebuilt the I-35 bridge, and he had really, that was credited to him for the rebuilt and the fastness. He was the first mayor of a large U.S. city to endorse our president back in 2007. He is currently the executive director of what's called Generation Next, an organization that helps close the achievement gap, especially for minority students. That's huge, especially for us. That is to be thank the mayor and that is really who he is. R.T. Ryback, Mayor's People's Mayor. People's Mayor. And Mayor R.T. Ryback's last act as a mayor, he had named Samatar Crossing in the memory of our late Hussein Samatar. That will symbolize or will stand a test in the coming years and years after generations and generations, that these acts, especially the last act, naming that street after our brother late and his wife is here, Hussein, that meant a lot to us as a community. It showed us that you, our mayor, R.T. Ryback, People's Mayor, had really touched, as I said from the beginning, touched in every life or in our community, more than any politician in our generation, especially here in the U.S. Thank you so much. What I read here, the accomplishments or the list, really was long due to the time. You can always Google mayor's achievement, but these were the highlights that I can gather together, and those are not little. Tax cuts, so on and so forth. And I would like to call upon our Sheikh Abdisalam Adan for the podium.
الله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. I'll try to go over the meaning of the verses that I just recited. This is the first chapter of the Quran. It's called Al-Fatiha, or the opening. This is the chapter that the Quran starts with. And it's a chapter that's recited in every prayer. The daily prayers, it's recited in every prayer as a reminder of our connectedness to God. So even though I don't have the text in front of me, I'll just try to go over the meaning in English for the benefit of the English speakers. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful. All praise is due to Allah, Lord of the worlds, Master of the Day of Judgment. You alone we worship, and you alone we seek guidance. Guide us onto the straight path, the path of those on whom you have bestowed your mercy and your guidance, not the path of those who have incurred your anger. Amen.
Jazakallah, Sheikh Abdisalam Adam. I'd like to acknowledge our Councilman, Abdi Warsame. I believe he's here. Thanks for coming. I'd like to also thank the media, Somali media, Somaliнаtionaltv, Somalimaitv, Somali channel, and not least our Mogadishu Times, our beloved Mulias Ma'o. Thank you so much. Without them, this wouldn't have been possible. Let me call upon Brother Ahmed Yusuf. He will talk about the connections between our community and our former mayor, R.T. Ryback. Please welcome Ahmed Yusuf.
there is a Somali adage. A wise man was once a wise man was once so gracious about a favor that another man did for him. So the wise man asked the other, how should I reciprocate your favor? Should I reciprocate with one gift or with one word wherever I go and whenever I have the opportunity? The man with the good deed chose the former. Thus, the wise man began to say about a word about him wherever he goes, and he said it again and again. Whomever that heard the word repeat after him and said the nice word about the man that who did the good word. Finally, that man became a king because of a word that started from one man, one word that started from one man. So to us, R.T. Rybak, you have been that king to us because someone told someone that you did a favor, told us about you, and we talked about you in our community. You were with us, actually, when we were most hungry. For example, in 2002, when we were most hungry, when a Somali, mentally ill Somali man was shot. You were there to console us. Again, when we were grieving the most, in 2010, when 3 Somalis were slaughtered, you were right there grieving with us. Again, a third time, the same man that who introduced you to us when we were grieving, you were there with us. You were the one that was crying with us. So we know that. Well, that you remember it, so you added to it, so there you go. Which shows that exactly that you were not there to get a vote. You were there when we actually needed, when we were in charge, when we were all new. When we were all new, you also just exactly pulled the one that who took the light for us. You just exactly put right in front of us. And we are still gracious and still we remember that. On the other hand, historically, for example, in 1947, 30-year-old mayor of Minnesota, Hubert Humphrey, muscled together the strongest and fair employment practice commission in the country, and a community, and put together a community of human rights to protect the minority, African Americans and Jews. What people do not exactly know is just that the city of Minneapolis used to be called the capital city. Before Hubert Humphrey became a mayor, it used to be called the capital city of anti-Semitics, which means that African Americans and actually even the Jews did not have anything to do with it. But in 1948, immediately a year later, the people that who were displaced in Eastern Europe, some of them Jews, were just exactly living in were invited to live in Minneapolis, which is just that you also live up to that iconic historical and civil rights pioneers. So you did not disappoint us. We came here to the United States just because also those that were heard of you. A lot of people do not know, but Hubert Humphrey and Mondale were actually also the reason we are here, because they are the ones that who pioneered what they call refugee status. There was not refugee status until they actually put it on the table and developed it. So that's why we're here. You did not disappoint us in that too. So you followed their footsteps. History remembers you, and we remember you. So thanks being our brother, and thanks being Hussein's friend. That's it.
For that wonderful quotes. You were there with us. Indeed, he was there with us, and he is with us tonight, our former mayor, R.T. Rybak. It's fitting. It is fitting that our former mayor has he is currently the executive director of the Next Generation program. It's fitting that a group of young Somalis that had stood up to deal with the issues of youth and violence and trying to put the youth issues right up in front of our community. It's really fitting that we have Mr. Muhammad Farah from Kajog, prominent youth leader from the Kajog group. Can you please give him a hand to welcome Mr. Muhammad Farah?
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And I really don't have that much to say, but kind of want to make a couple of comments. You know, the R.T. Ryback, the former mayor, he really truly is a people's person and people's mayor. He's not one of those individuals or those elected officials that, you know, work behind the computer, work behind doors. He truly was with the community on the ground when things were happening, especially the shootings. I remember back, you know, a few years, 2007 or so, a couple of shootings that has happened, and one of the mayor was one of the people that were making a speech before the people. He was one of the officials that came out really to talk about this prominent issue that we continue to have in the community. But from our standpoint, from Kajog, I remember when we were putting this organization together back in 2007, one of the people that we went to was actually R.T. Rybak. A colleague of mine and I went to the mayor, and you know, we went to his office and we're telling him all these visions that we have in the community. You know, we're like, this is what we want to do in the community in terms of the youth, the immigration, all these varieties of things that we have, because we had passion that was driving us. I was working with change makers that really wanted to make everything that we could make back then. But then the mayor was listening to us, and at the end of our discussion, he goes, guys, I want to give you guys an advice, and that is, if you want to continue, if you want to make a foundation that lasts forever, for many years to come, focus on one thing and one thing only, and be good at it. You know, when I hear his name, that's the only thing that I remember, that discussion. Well, guess what we did? We went back to the drawing board, and as most of you know, the only thing that we work on to this day, 7 years later, and 100 years later, 100 years from now on, is going to be nothing but the youth. That's all that we do. So thank you so much. Thank you for all that you've done for the community, especially for the young people. I think you've affected many young lives that I'm pretty sure that you still haven't met because of your policies during your administration. Again, thank you for your time.
The theme of our event is People's Mayor. We've just witnessed Mr. Muhammad Farah from the youth angle. We've just witnessed from my friend Ahmad from the community at large. We've witnessed Sheikh Abdul Salam from the religious or from the school's perspective. So we're making the connection that our former mayor, our friend and our brother has indeed touched every life of our community from coast to coast in this great city of ours, Minneapolis. It gives me another pleasure to welcome Ms. Khadija Ali. Then again, she will make the connection of why this gentleman, this former mayor, this brother of ours, this friend can also...
Such a wonderful spring night in Minnesota. Well, ladies and gentlemen, are we not in Minneapolis? Are we not in America? Isn't Minneapolis the greatest city in this country? Isn't America the coolest country in the world? And if you still have a little doubt, just take a look at me, a little girl who was born somewhere in Mogadishu, in Somalia, came to be in front of you guys today as an entrepreneur, community organizer, and an activist. A little girl who hardly spoke any English when she arrived into the US in 1996. I hope everyone is following, by the way. I'm truly honored tonight to be standing in front of all of you guys, and especially R.T. Rybak, the greatest mayor, the greatest city, and the greatest country in the world. For that reason, permit me, on behalf of the Somali community in Twin Cities and the entrepreneurial community in general, and the African community, to call him Uncle Ryback. You know, in our culture, when someone comes into our community, they become a family. So going forward, Uncle Ryback. So tonight, we're here to applaud Mayor Ryback's tremendous support to the Somali community in particular, and the immigrant entrepreneurial community in general. My name is Khadija. I own a company called the Language Bank. It's an interpreter service company that provides linguistic needs. We mostly work with large healthcare systems. We have about 900 independent contractors. And we have about 900 independent contractors, and we have over 100 languages. We owe our growth and continued expansion and stability and the support that has been offered to us by the city of Minneapolis. We truly call Minneapolis home. I've given birth to 2 kids and a business. Even when the weather is colder than Alaska and Antarctica. So we are honored. We want to honor Mayor Ryback for his great leadership and deep community involvement and close relationship with the Somali community. Mayor Ryback recognized, partnered, and grew with the inner city community and the Somali community in particular. As an immigrant business owner, I feel Minneapolis is like no other cities. And I've lived in other cities. As a Somali, we kind of move around. Under the leadership of Mayor Ryback, the great Somali entrepreneurial spirit has been greatly fostered, leading tremendous opportunities, including the Language Bank. And it's definitely heartwarming experience to know that the Language Bank and other immigrant businesses ventures have been harnessed and embraced with open arms. Mayor Ryback and also the Minneapolis community have truly welcomed us with open arms. Mayor Ryback's recognition and appreciation for the Somali businesses is evident, and its treatment and respect for the Somali leaders. Therefore, I would also like to thank Mayor Ryback for his recognition of our great community leaders. And we're truly honored you setting the president to name Minneapolis landmarks and streets after the late great Hussein Samatar. We're all deeply affected by his untimely passing. He positively impacted us all in a personal level as well as a community level. We're grateful for Mayor Ryback for really recognizing the contribution that Hussein Samatar have done for the city of Minneapolis. So, ladies and gentlemen, I truly share Hussein's entrepreneurial spirit, and he was a truly great mentor and really made me believe in myself. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's a great and a wonderful honor to know that the Somali community can really count on its local leaders and have the endorsement of great people like Mayor Ryback. So, in conclusion, I just would like to say thank you on behalf of my family, friends, and the Somali community. And we know being a mayor was just the beginning. So let us know when those presidential signs go out, because you have foot soldiers. Give us the marching orders. Thank you very much. Have a great night.
Wonderful speech. We're again making the connections between our mayor, our former mayor, from the business side of it, from the religious side of it, from any side of it, from my side. So, and he was really indeed people's mayor. Somalis by nature are business-minded, entrepreneurial, so as she just said. We have a great example of how Somalis are blossomed in this city, such as our brother here, Jamal Hashif from Safari Express, or Safari, as well as his twin brother behind him, Sadeh Hashi. And we also have Minnesota Somali Chambers Commerce from my brother Mahmoud Abdirrahman as a business. So we're making the connection. We're making the connection. I'm trying to let you know that he is indeed our mayor and our people's mayor. Thank you. A great leader, a great friend, a candidate of the Minnesota School Board, and as well as policy aide of Senator Amy Klobuchar. Please give him a hand, a great welcome to my brother, Siad Ali.
When you all, it's a great pleasure and an honor to be with you here tonight. And I would like to say a few words. R.T. Ryback is such a great leader. And when I say that I'm running for Minneapolis School Board, it was the same time when our great leader, R.T. Ryback, said that he's going to lead Generation Next. And I would like to say in front of you, I will be working with him, and I will help Generation Next. Because of Generation Next stands for closing the achievement gap. As you all know, in Minneapolis public schools, the graduation rate is very low, especially people of color. 40%. They say that if 100 students sit for exam, there are only 60 graduates, 40 graduates in our community. And this is the man I would like to work with him so that together we close the achievement gap. And I do believe this is possible under the leadership of R.T. Ryback. R.T. Ryback is the mayor he's the first mayor who hired Somali police officers. And today, we have 13 Somali police officers. Every time I see I remember R.T. Rybak. I can keep saying a lot of good things and the great achievement he has done, but I want to say that R.T. Rybak, he touched the lives of each and every member of our community, the lives of each and every member of African American community, in which we are also part of it. R.T. Rybak, he is a grassroots politician. I always say, whenever I come to like this kind of events, I always say great things about my boss, Amy Kolabashar. But this is the man who, you know, when Barack Obama was nobody, he was the first person who endorsed him, and I have heard that many occasions, even the president saying that R.T. Rybak is the one who trusted me when nobody trusted me. When you name Hussein Samatar after the crossing bridge, that day I was present, and truly speaking, I was emotional, because we are new to this country, we are new immigrants, so you trusted us, and we are going to be now the part of history. So the bridge is not only the Johnsons, but also their Samatars. R.T. Rybak, this is testimony. Truly we love you from the bottom of our heart. Hussein Samatar was a great man, and I can really, is another somebody, he is a role model to me even till today. I cannot accomplish all the work he has done in a short time, but I will try to follow his footsteps and try to be a good advocate for our students. My sister Oba, thank you very much for inviting us tonight here. And we thank you for inviting us here. May God bless the United States. May God bless R.T. Rybak and his family. Thank you very much, and I love you all.
Siad Ali, I wish him well for the upcoming election, and I am sure next year around this time, he is the elected school board member of our city, Minneapolis. Siad Ali. Last week, our community, our Somali American community, our Somali Minneapolis community, had a historic day, indeed, where I personally had witnessed it. Were on a milestone where the city of Minneapolis had enacted or made it into a law that hereafter, the July 1st of every year that's going to come would be called the Somali American Day in July 1st. And I believe, and I hope you all believe that our former mayor had something to do with it, or he had paved the way to that day to be realized. And on top of that, I believe our next speaker had a lot to do with it. I would ask you to give him a warm welcome, our own, and for the first Somali American elected city council member, Abdi Warsame.
Assalamu alaikum. Habeen wanaagsan. Thank you. Good evening to everyone. As usual, I didn't really prepare any notes, but I will try to convey my message to my former mayor, leader of the city of Minneapolis, R.T. Ryback. I've only known two mayors since I've lived in America. One is R.T. Ryback, who I've lived through the 7 years I've been here, and the other is Betsy Hodges. And I had the pleasure of being with both of them when we had the fire on the 1st of January this year in Cedar Riverside. And I saw R.T. Ryback and how he performed and how he took leadership and ownership of the situation. And it was quite remarkable. It impressed me a great deal because I didn't know R.T. before. I've only met him, I think, once or twice before that. But seeing R.T. Ryback and Betsy Hodges working together and the attention that they gave and the empathy that they showed to the Somali community at that time, on that day, on that tragic event, was heartwarming. It impressed me a great deal, and I've had a great deal of admiration since that day for both of the mayors that I've lived through in the city of Minneapolis. I am here today not as a council member, but as a member of the Hussein Samatar family. As many of you know, I am Ubah's uncle, and also an uncle, and also, you know, in Somali, we don't have great uncles. So I'm an uncle to Ubah, and I'm a grandfather to her children, you know, young grandfather, as you can see. But I'm a grandfather to Hanad, to Haroon, to Habon, and to Heibe. And Hussein Samatar was a great man, a man who stood for the betterment of his community, the empowerment of the East African community, a man whose path is, you know, maybe me and Hussein never agreed on much, and I'll be honest and I'll say that. But without Hussein, Abdi Warsame would not be here. And without Hussein, many of us wouldn't be running for office. You know, and Hussein was truly a historic figure. And I congratulate R.T. Ryback, and I thank him for naming the Samatar crossing. I think that sends a message. That would be the first piece of real estate in the United States of America or in the Western world named after a Somali individual. So that in itself is a great thing. I'm proud to be on the city council. I'm proud to have been elected by my community. I know we have many detractors. I know some people do not believe in us. Some are right here. But what matters is not that we have detractors. What matters is that we have belief in ourselves, that we have the confidence, not just to run an election and to win in style, but we have the confidence to rule in style and to govern in style. And I've been in City Hall in 3 months. And it was important that we had the Somali American Day, because what we wanted to give is hope to our children here in this city, that Minneapolis is not a foreign city to them, that Minneapolis is their city, and that Minneapolis belongs to them. And what I thank R.T. Ryback for his friendship with Hussein Samatar. I remember speaking to Hussein Samatar once, and he told me how close him and the mayor were. And for me, it was unthinkable. You actually know the mayor? You know, that's when I was, you know, when I first came to this country. So Hussein showed me that you can actually not only know a mayor, but you can run for office and you can become a mayor. And one day we will probably have a Somali mayor in the city of Minneapolis. And again, I would like to thank Ubah Chama for this event. I would like to thank all of you who have attended. Thank you very much. And I would like to thank former Mayor R.T. Rybak. Thank you very much, sir.
That's for that. We're going to move along. I'd like to call upon our host tonight. As I said before on my remarks, she is a loving mother, is very strong, caring, and a brave person. In our community, she's the rock of our community. Give her a hand, a warm welcome to our sister Ubah Jama.
Habeen wanaagsan. Oh, do I need to? I thought in a loo baahnay. Habeen wanaagsan. Good evening. I just want to begin saying thank you, former Mayor Minneapolis R.T. Ryback, accepting my invitation. I really would like to appreciate you. I would like also to thank the opportunity and appreciate the gratitude for dedication of Samatar Crossing. People will say to me, Ubah Chama, but my second last name starting tonight is Samatar too. I am actually humbled and honored. The mayor and the Minneapolis that organized Hussein community's accomplishment and achievement Many of you know Hussein and R.T. Ryback were very close friends. He has also been around when Hussein was hospitalized and sick. I told him no media, and he accepted my recommendations. He was there with his wife, asking me how Hussein is doing, where guys do you meet, how are you doing, what can I help, what can I help. We cannot fully express how much my family and appreciate you. Family and friends are also very important to me. I would not be standing here without you. Hussein Samatar was dear to me. He raised me, and I raised him. But let me tell you one person that gives us love and support and caring, and that's you. Thank you very much. His bond to Hussein Samatar was very strong. This is, I remember, first time, at nighttime he came and he said, oh, tomorrow can you call work early, late, go late? We're going to R.T. Ryback's office. I'm like, who is R.T. Ryback's office? And he explained to me, and that was the first night I hear that you honor him and give him the opportunity as a Minneapolis Public Libraries. Thank you for that. He has also recently stressed the strong how city civic business leaderships are very important, multicultural, and talent around us. So thank you for helping, not me, everybody in our community. I want also to say thank you who helped put this beautiful event. Please, if I call your name, I want you to stand up. Do not hide. This is a great event. My sister Khadija, please stand up. Come over here. My friend Siad Ali, over here. My friend Rhoda, where are you, Rhoda? She not here? Oh, she's bringing the kids. Okay. Of course, Abdurrahman. But not last and least. Not least, but not last. Is that which one first comes? And great uncle, friend, and we're the same age, although. Saeed Chama Bihi. This event, we thought about it. The reason we brought different side of aspect, business, education, business, engineer, and a parent organization. Oh, Ahmed too. Come here, Ahmed. We also, I think you hear, Savari, we came your building several times. You serve us food. Please come up. Afro Delhi.
We'll run out of room.
Let's go. That's what it's all about. It's love and family. Friends. And not last but not least again, media. I call them every time I need them. These are the people that are behind me. They will never question me. They don't even say we're coming. We always tell them, please, I need that day. Can you come? They're always there. It's not Miss Ubah Chama. I called my school, sorry. They call me Miss Ubah Chama. Sorry, I made a mistake. It's about these people and you. that put this family together. We're all community and family. Thank you very much. You may all sit down. I'm still talking. I want to say thank you because you are who you are, and you did that for your own sake and love for you have Hussein. So for that, I wanted to give you different gifts, and hopefully you will love this. And can you, Khadija, come help me? And thank you very much. I love you.
Community in Minneapolis honors Mayor R.T. Ryback, Samatar Leadership Award honors Mayor R.T. Ryback in recognition of his leadership and outstanding contribution to the Somali American community of Minneapolis. April 16, 2014. It's an honor.
This book is it's everything that Hussein did. And guess what? My colleagues did this for me. And it's everything in the media. She didn't even ask me what to bring and anything. So all the pictures, all the newsletters, everything that my husband did, it's in here. And it's for you. And guess what at the end? Look at the picture at the end. He was full of love.
Oh, that is really special. That's really great.
And that's the day that I'm talking about. We went to his office.
We look so young.
And
I'm so happy.
Obah Jama. I'd like to, before we call upon our former mayor, call for his remarks, gentleman, a leader, a candidate, as well as school board member, my brother Mahmoud Noor.
Good evening. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. What an honor to be with you tonight. A reception for our former mayor, R.T. Ryback. Someone who has got the guts to stand with an immigrant who is running for an office. That's the people's mayor. Somebody who can lead and show the direction that the city should take. Somebody who believes in the little people who he represents. He reminds me of Senator Paul Wellstone. Someone who said we all do better when we all do better. And that's the legacy that R.T. Ryback left with us. And thanks to my sister Uba for her great leadership in organizing this event, and Khadija, and everyone who was involved. It's a true honor. And it speaks of the volume of what you've accomplished in the relationship that you established with the community and our former great brother, Hussein Samatar. Thank you so much. Without further ado, I'll give it back to Brother Jibril. But otherwise, I want to say thank you so much. Thank you for all for being here tonight.
Thank you so much, Mahmoud Noor. Former Mayor R.T. Ryback, despite a lot of statements, rumors, the Somali community is united. And we love each other. Before we call upon the mayor, former mayor, things change. Let me give a couple of minutes to a friend, a brother, an entrepreneur, a businessman, a co-owner of a Safari restaurant. If I don't say this, Safari restaurant is my home. He'll be in trouble. And part of the organizers, the man who's taller than me, Abdurrahman Ahmed, aka Abkos.
Giving a gift or appreciation, award or recognition to former Mayor R.T. Ryback. Let me call my business partners and my friends and my brothers, Sareh and Jamal Hashi. About how much you love chicken fantastic. So to the point where chicken fantastic. If you haven't tried, you can try that. So we are giving him a recognition on behalf of the Somali community of Minnesota, on behalf of Safari Restaurant, on behalf of the Safari family, a lifetime dinner for R.T. Rybak. It's only R.T. Rybak. Yeah. It says a word that we are always grateful and thankful to him. And thank you so much, sir. Right. But the education gap is one of the most important things that we need to focus. And I'm glad my friend, my former roommate, is running for that position to become a school board in the city of Minneapolis. The Somali community, we have been here 20 years. It's a crossroad. It's not the time to adapt. It's not time to mingle. It's not time. We are about the time to change. We are about the time to improve the lives of Minnesota. We are about the time to make a contribution to this beautiful city and this beautiful state of Minnesota. I just want to say one thing. I have told this many friends. My dream is hopefully 5 years, 10 years from now, flying from MSB Airport. I'm going to my beautiful city where I was born, Mogadishu. And the reason when I say Mogadishu, it gets me emotional. Because the life I've experienced there, I know my son, he will never have that one. So hopefully one day, we'll pray, we'll get that back, and we all will build a connection and bridge from Minnesota to Somalia, from Minneapolis to Mogadishu. God bless you all, and thank you for being here. Thanks.
And with an honor to welcome our former mayor, as I said, our brother and a friend, Raymond, a small uncle, Raymond Thomas R.T. Ryback. Ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you. You've done a great job. Hasn't he done a great job in emceeing? Great. Thank you so much for your great work. You know, I learned something tonight about how much I've always valued Somali entrepreneurship and what great business people Somalis are. So what's happened? I think you've been in this country too long. That was the worst business decision you've ever made. If you knew how much I love chicken fantastic, I could eat you out of house and home. So I'll stand over here. Great. But thank you so much. That means a lot. And it means an enormous amount to have the host for this night be Ubajama, who is just an incredibly special person to me. And you know what Hussein meant to me. At the Cafe Minneapolis, having breakfast with my friend Hussein, when I thought I was going to be talking to him about whether he was going to run for mayor or not. And I thought he would have been a great mayor someday. And he would have. And he leaned across the table and he said, I can't run for anything right now. And he told me about his illness. And I was deeply, deeply saddened. And as I miss him an enormous amount. But Hussein is with me every single day. And Hussein is with this community every day, and we have to remember that. My father died when I was a kid, and Hussein and Uba have children. And my mother, to this day, has been the rock that I stand on, and I have an enormous respect for what she has done. My mother was able to do everything she did because she's strong, and you are strong, but because an entire community rallied around my mother. And I want to look at this community who I respect and care about so deeply, and hope we all continue to commit ourselves to a lifelong of commitment to helping Uba and her family be everything that they could have been if Hussein was here. We will all be Hussein for that family. So please commit yourself to that. Thank you. It means a tremendous amount to have everything that's said tonight, which is just, I'm rarely at a loss for words, but I don't know what to say. But the two words that meant a lot to me tonight were brother and friend. And that means an enormous amount to me, because that's absolutely how I feel. And there's something about brothers and friends, if you think about it, they almost always grow up together. Over time, one thing happens, maybe a good thing, maybe a bad thing, but they learn together, they grow together, and over time they recognize that shared experience, often through tough times, is what makes them even stronger. And if you think about the relationship we've had together, we've grown up together. When I was first running for mayor, I'd never been mayor before. I'd never been anything before in public office. And I had never met a Somali. I didn't know a single Somali when I began running for mayor of Minneapolis. And during the campaign, this remarkable thing happened. This community that was really just emerging in Minneapolis and really had yet to become politically active gave me the gift of coming and listening to me. And when many people didn't trust me, many people didn't know me, many people didn't believe in me, this community believed in me more than almost any other community. You were among the very first. And as you know, Somalis, you're not a shy community, right? I remember on election night, there were a few people up on stage with me as I was winning who were very experienced in politics and all that. And slowly over the course of the night, they all got pushed off stage because all the Somalis were coming on. And I thought it was just great. And it was a great metaphor for Somalis really coming up and being what, you know, it has been. And wouldn't it have been great if all we did was celebrate? But of course, we faced some tough challenges. At that moment when I was getting elected, 9/11 had happened. And this country was questioning issues. And this country of the Statue of Liberty was questioning issues of immigration. And this country of great values that has opened its arms to people with strange names like Rybak was beginning to ask what that was about. And 9/11 scared people. And it scared people especially about people of the Islamic faith. And I didn't know many Somalis at that time, but I knew my country. And I knew my name was Ryback, and I knew what this country did for my family as immigrants. And I knew that it was deeply wrong at this critical time to take a people and a religion based on peace and inclusion and somehow find some story that was not about that. And when I first took office as mayor, one of the first calls I got was from members of the Bush administration saying that my city was on a terrorist watch because of the community here. And I said, well, why is that? And they said, because there are so many members of the Islamic faith. And it was a very difficult conversation. I remember saying to them, Hitler was a Christian. I am a Christian. I am not an accomplice in his acts, and the community here is not an accomplice because of their religion. And I was outraged by that. And I remember someone mentioned Paul Wellstone. I remember having that conversation with Paul Wellstone and saying, Senator, I need you to help fight this battle. And he said he would with every breath that he had. And that was the last conversation I had with Paul Wellstone, was at a Seder a little while into my term when I was having that conversation. So that was the first crisis. But a second one came very quickly after that. A few months after I was in office, I got a call that a man was walking down Franklin Avenue with a machete. Mr. Jelani was coming down Franklin Avenue, and a confrontation broke out with our police, and he was shot. And I was new. I had never been a mayor. I'd never run a police force. I knew very little about mental health issues on the streets. I had to learn quickly. But what did happen is that I opened my office and asked the family and members in the community to come in and tell me what I needed to know. And together, as we were growing up together through another crisis, you shared with me, you helped me learn. I learned a lot about what it means to really not just be walking down Franklin Avenue, but to be walking down Franklin Avenue after a life of war, after deep challenges, after all sorts of other issues, and what was needed for mental health issues. And we learned about that together. We learned together as we thought about great institutions in this community, and the library was at a very critical stage. And we needed a person with real business savvy who understood community to go in there and preserve libraries. And I turned to someone who not only understood libraries, but learned English there. And that's how he learned to be a great business leader. And I turned to Hussein, and I called Hussein, and I had just gotten to know him at that point. And I said, Hussein, we need you at a really tough time to step in at the library board. And it won't be a very politically popular thing to do, because there's no easy political solution. And he said, well, I want to run for the school board. And I said, we'll get there, Hussein, but we need you on the library board right now. And he stood up, and The fact that there are libraries opening, because we were able to merge that with Hennepin County, and more than any other person on that board, Hussein was the person with the business savvy and the smarts to get that done. He was a powerful representative of the Somali community, but he represented every person in this community. And those libraries are here today in part because of Hussein's great work. And we learned and we grew up together, and we can go through that. And again, through this community, all of these great entrepreneurs, I didn't know as a beginning mayor, as somebody new to this community, that members of the Islamic faith have a more complex path toward getting a traditional business loan because of your faith. I didn't know that issue until Hussein and the African Development Corporation brought that to me. So we figured out a way to have our small business arm come up with another loan product that made it possible for members of the Islamic faith to get a loan from the city of Minneapolis and through the African Development Corporation. There are 50 small businesses, at least, in the city of Minneapolis that are operating only because of that, and we've taught that to cities around the country. And that's, again, about the work of this great community. I could go on and on and on with this work. But probably more than anything else, there's been just this thing with this community and me that has, I don't know if I can describe it, but I can say that there's always been something really special. I remember it right after getting elected, the community was so kind to my family and reached out and had a dinner. And our kids were little then. It was the first time they ate goat and a whole lot of other things. And the community was so warm and loving and wonderful. And from the moment I got elected till now, there's been a real bond between my family and this community. You are really special to me and to my family in an enormous way. But in part, it's those tough times that we've been together that have really meant so much. And I remember one that just went right to the quick for so many of us in such a tough way, when a couple young people from this community showed up in Somalia and wound up in the wrong place, doing the wrong things. Suddenly people wanted to paint a picture of every Somali young person in this community. And that's how Neighbors for Nations was born. We sat down and talked to the community, especially our young people, and said, we really have to send a message here about who you really are. And so we debated back and forth. Should we do a relief program here? Should we do one in Somalia? And I remember over at Brian Coyle having a conversation with a group of young people, and they were debating that. And one young man stood up and said, I want nothing to do with Somalia. I'm an American. I want to do a relief program here. I want to show that we commit to this country. And his sister, interestingly, stood up and said, how selfish. Look at the advantage you have to be in this community. You need to help back in Somalia. And they were both right, because on some level, they belong to both places. But so do I. So do I. This community and Mogadishu are tied together because of you. And our futures are tied together and linked. That's not an easy thing. But I remember you and I were walking through Stockholm. Remember, I don't know if you remember me saying this or not, but we walked by a Radisson Hotel. And the Radisson Hotel was there. And I said to you, remember what that Radisson Hotel is. The Radisson Hotel was started by a son of an immigrant, Kirk Carlson. Came from Sweden, not a lot of money, came to this community, worked through bonds, bond stamps and all sorts of other things, and built up his business and became this huge, incredibly successful business person, and now the most beautiful hotel on the main street, right on the water in Stockholm, is the Radisson Hotel. The immigrant came home and rebuilt in his community. And when you open Safari Express in Mogadishu, that's exactly what that's about. Our futures are linked. But we're not done, okay? The work that I am most proud of as mayor, I continue, and that's work with young people, and especially the Step Up Summer Job Program. 18,000 kids, thousands of Somali youth have gone through the Step Up Summer Job Program. And they've gotten into summer jobs, and they've gotten into college, and they're coming out of college, and guess what? With all the challenges we have, we are now training the most global workforce we ever had. And I'll prove it to you. How many of you speak a language other than English? All right. How many speak 2 or more? 3 or more? If that question would have been asked a decade, 2 ago, you would look out at a group of people in Minneapolis and no hands would go up. You are the key to our global competitiveness. Those kids are the key to our global competitiveness. This community has helped and opened its arms to Somalis. There's no question. There has been a bridge built here, but that bridge goes two ways. And so what will happen now is if we do this right, all of the skills that you have in this room and all of the skills of this next generation are building a global powerhouse beyond what anyone can do. The Chinese are doing wonderful work in Africa, but they don't know about Minnesota. They don't know about you, and they don't know what you allow us to be able to do. How many of you speak Arabic? That's a lot of hands, right? Teach your children. We need them to know English, but we need them to know Arabic, because this country is not as competitive as it needs to be in not only Africa, but the Middle East. You can help us with that. So we come to this time now where everything has to be about you succeeding with extremely high standards, not just for your children, but for all of our children, because all of our children need to know Arabic, all of our children need to know all the languages and dialects of Africa, all of our children need to be able to compete there because all of us are linked together. So I ask you to double down with me, especially on education. And I know a couple things early on as I'm doing this work in education. We know that if you look at the data and all the numbers, Somali kids arrive at school at a higher level than the average kid in the Minneapolis schools. Isn't that interesting? Now, over the next couple years, that they don't grow as much in the school day. That's also interesting. We're going to have to understand what that's about, but we're going to master that. And that's the kind of work that you need to do on the school board, and Mahmoud, that you need to do at the legislature, and what we really need to make sure happens. That's really important work. It's not easy. That's why I'm doing this work. I did lots of things I loved as mayor, but lots of things are not as important as the one big thing we need to focus on. So I've stood with this community because you've stood with me, but I'm standing with you so we can stand together over these next few years to continue to build the great global city of Minneapolis, to build the great global connection with a community that will once more see peace, which is Mogadishu and Somalia. And together we are writing a history that's never been written before. No other time has this happened with Africa. You are incredible partners to me. You've been incredible friends, but the great work is just beginning. Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
We would like a prayer be made on behalf of our community, our country, our leaders like Mayor R.T. Ryback, and I would welcome Sheikh Abdulsalam, who would conclude our program. And I thank, before I call Sheikh Abdulsalam, I want to thank Free Grocery and Mr. Pasquale, who made possible for the food and other entertainments. Abdul Ghafar. And I, on behalf of the Somali community, I don't think I mentioned my name, Jibril. I want to thank all of the volunteers, people that have made possible. Let me call upon Sheikh Abdulsalam, who would conclude our program. Thank you very much.
Well, what a night. It's a great night. And we thank Allah who made it possible for all of us to come together tonight. Earlier we started with the Fatiha, the opening chapter of the Quran, and it's befitting that we end with a prayer, since on one side we have a lot of work to do, and on the other side we're also having the memory of our brother Hussein, who passed away. May his soul rest in peace. So before the conclusion, I would just like to kind of share my own thoughts also as an educator and as a community person who cares about this community. That there's a lot to do, Mayor. And I make presentations on Somali culture and Islam in the schools and in many avenues. And people always ask the question, why are Somalis here? And it's fate. I mean, it's the will of God. In Islam we say, inshallah, everything happens by the will of God. Because when you look at all the physical attributes or the circumstances, there are many other states in America that have weather that's better than Minnesota's. And as a matter of fact, Somalis did not, or the US government did not choose to bring so many Somalis here. when the civil war, the tragic civil war, occurred in Somalia, and people were displaced by their own brethren and by their own sisters. It's a sad chapter in Somali history. And people are in the camps, and the United States government opens its doors to Somali, African, Muslim refugees in Kenya. It's fate. It's very hard to explain why the United States government will choose to bring so many Somalis to the United States. And when the first immigrants arrived here, those who settled in Minnesota, they were taken to many different states. But the ones who came to Minnesota liked the welcoming environment. People know what's good for them. The people who came to Minneapolis and went to the doors of Minneapolis public schools in 1992, from what after kind of asking people, I heard the first arrivals started in 1992. Imagine public school system that's not used to Islam, to Muslims, to refugees in these numbers. All their doors all of a sudden coming with so many students coming in, with all the challenges. And they were able to find a way. They were able to open their heart. They were able to communicate with the people, hire specialists from the community, recognize the religious values and the moral values of this community. And people were able to read through that. And as Somalis, we talk a lot. The phones became very busy. Calling card companies made a lot of money, I suppose. And so they called the camps in Nairobi and in Otanga. Everybody remembers Otanga? All right. And they said, come here, this is Minneapolis. And we have a way of not saying names the right way. For example, they will say Minnesota. And they will say the former governor is Plenty. That was his name to the many Somalis. So, in our own way. And Minneapolis, I don't know, there are many ways of saying it. So it's a difficult name because we don't have the P sound in Somali. So they will say Minneapolis with a ba sound, So, people just began to invite and call, and this is a good place, and that's how the community grew. And that did not happen by accident. It's your leadership of the mayor at that time and your leadership. It was through your reign that most of the Somalis came here. So, brothers and sisters, I think they say a leader is somebody that you can follow to a place that you will not go alone. And I think Mayor R.T. Rybak led us, and we followed him, and we trusted him through his open arms and policies. And the fact that you stood up for us in the most difficult circumstances of 9/11 and its aftermath, it speaks volumes. So again, I just would like to share my thoughts about also the Hussein and Ubah's family. They are my long-time friends. My first relationship or knowledge of Hussein happened in Cedar Riverside. It will be around 1998-99 through the Cedar Riverside Neighborhood Organization. And we also worked together on Somali Voices. Do you remember the radio that Hussein used to run on KFI radio? We used to speak many times on community issues. Hussein helped us to purchase the Al-Hijra Mosque. ADC was an intermediary. They kind of educated us on the process. The mosque that's in Cedar Riverside. Hussein's election night, or the day of the election, I was there at Cedar Riverside at the Brian Call Center, directing the voting and interpreting for people. And on the night of his celebration, I remember the Somali song that says, Nin lagu seexdo, ha seexan. We're singing that night. I don't know how that can be translated. Basically, this is a popular Somali song that says, somebody who's in a position of responsibility, that people go to sleep for that person to defend them and to protect them should not sleep. So in other words, a person of authority and a person of position of leadership cannot sleep because so many people's lives depend on them. So Hussein and Ubah are good examples of the two sides of the river, because Ubah is a St. Paul educator. I don't know if you're all aware of that. Ubah has been working in St. Paul public schools, I think since 1999, was it? Yes. I was hired in 97, Ubah came on board in 99. And we have worked together on so many community issues. She's known as Miss Ubah. Because in Somali culture, we don't use the last name, so the kids, they just say Miss Ubah. And she works in Paul and Sheila Wellstone as a tribute to Senator Wellstone. So again, Hussein was in Minneapolis, Ubah was in St. Paul. So people who try to divide the two twin cities, I think that's a good example, a classic example of a couple that made it real and have kept it alive. So we thank Hussein and we thank Ubah for their leadership and for uniting not only the Somali community, but the greater Twin Cities community. And finally, I would just like to remind the mayor that we still have a lot of work to do. The next generation is the most important. All what we are saying tonight is of no value if we do not educate our youngsters. If they do not succeed, we have not succeeded. And in a way, hearing the mayor's good work, I'm kind of jealous that I have not got to know him close enough. But I promise from tonight that I will work closely with the mayor on education issues. And so Generation X, next generation should be our target, that our children succeed. Somali children, according to MD, Minneapolis Department of Education data, is around 15,000. It's a huge number. And you know, Somalis, we don't always, when it comes to data and statistics, we never register the correct numbers. So if 15,000 is officially in the data, how many thousand are hidden? How many thousands use other languages? There are Somalis who speak Swahili, and they say Swahili. The Somalis who speak Amharic, the Somalis who speak Arabic, there are Somalis who kind of claim other languages. So I think our kids' numbers and student numbers are really much higher than that. And imagine the impact of that. So that I think we have a lot of work to do. And with Siad, our next school board member, with Mahmoud Noor, our next representative, and many other candidates also, future candidates. I'm not a politician, you know, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not going to run for any office, you know. I think my calling is another area, so we can complement each other. So politicians, we're supporting you, we're helping you, we'll be with you. You help us and clear the way as the mayor has shown us, because the decisions come with the politicians. We want to be at the table. We want to be at the decision-making table. We don't want to be guests anymore. And so we should keep moving. So I will conclude with the dua, we say prayer supplication. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Oh Allah, we thank you for bringing us together tonight. Bless our gathering. Oh Allah, have mercy on our brother Hussein Samatar. Have mercy on him. Forgive him his sins. Make his grave comfortable for him. Forgive him all the sins that he committed. Place him in paradise. Oh Allah, we ask you to protect his family, his children, Hanad, Harun, Habon, and Haibe. Keep them steadfast in their faith and to be obedient to their parents. Oh Allah, we ask you to safeguard his widow, Ubah Jama, to protect her and to keep her from every difficulty that comes her way. Oh Allah, we ask you to give good health to our mayor, Ryback. The health reminder that he had recently, we pray that it never comes back. We pray that he remains healthy and he lives to lead us in many positive ways. We ask Allah to bless everyone that's here tonight, the entire community, to come together and to work together in unity and for the common good and to preserve all of us and all the Minnesota community, Twin Cities community, and the United States of America. Fatiha. Bismillah. Let's read together. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahmanir Rahim. Maliki Yawmiddin. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين جزاكم الله خير السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته